Marcus Aurelius was born during a time when Rome was at its peak of its glory, known as the Pax Romana, which is Latin for Roman peace, and lasted a remarkable 200 years. However, this golden era got to an end with the death of one man, Marcus Aurelius, the last of the so-called 5 good emperors. But how did this happen? How did an adopted child like Marcus without a royal bloodline ascend to become Rome's greatest emperor? Don't worry, I'm going to explain everything shortly. Today, Marcus Aurelius is known by many as the Philosopher King, an inspiration for Stoicism and his many amazing thoughts and quotes. His profound understanding of the universe and wisdom documented in his meditations, which are his personal reflections he never intended to publish, continues to guide and inspire millions around the world to this day. Now I want to make something clear. Be sure to watch till the end because I will be sharing with you some life-changing advice you don't want to miss from Marcus Aurelius. So who really was Marcus Aurelius? What story lies behind a boy adopted into royalty which rise to power saw its end with his death? And why is he still world famous 2,000 years later? To understand this incredible story, we have to go back in time to where it all started. Chapter 1. The early years of Marcus Aurelius. On April 26, 121 AD, Marcus Aurelius was born into the ancient Roman Empire. He wasn't just any Roman kid, he was from a noble and well-respected family. Big things were expected of him, and the future was looking bright for young Marcus. But just as everything seemed perfect, something terrible happened. Before Marcus could fully comprehend the world around him, he received some devastating news. His father, Annius Verus, had passed away, leaving a huge void in young Marcus's heart. Losing his dad at merely 3 years old deeply affected Marcus, and understandably so. In this challenging time, his grandfather stepped in as his father figure, guided by his mother, Domitia Lucilla, and with his grandfather's wisdom, Marcus was filled with strong values. According to his reflections in the Meditations, Marcus gained invaluable lessons from his family, crucial to understanding his character and later decisions in this story. From his grandfather, he got decency and a mild temper. From his mother, he got piety, generosity, the simplicity of life to avoid wrongdoings, and the habits of the rich. From what he can remember of his biological father, he got integrity and manliness. This is what helped shape the character of Marcus Aurelius that would later become one of Rome's greatest emperors. And at that point in time, he could be considered to be one, if not the most powerful man in the world. Now, connections were crucial in the Roman world, and despite his father's death, Marcus had some pretty impressive ones. His grandfather held the consul title 3 times, the second most powerful position in Rome. Additionally, his aunt, Faustina the Elder, was married to a great figure in Rome, Antonius Pius, which later would be vital for Marcus's rise to power. But Marcus's rise to greatness wasn't just through connections. He didn't merely rest on his family's achievements. His thirst for knowledge and wisdom would set him apart. He'd ask questions about the stars, great Roman heroes, and everyday people. And then something caught his attention, something that would change his life forever: philosophy, or rather Stoicism. At the age of 11 or 12, he got the outfit of a philosopher, wearing a rough Greek tunic, even sleeping on the ground. Keep in mind, he lived in luxury, but chose a simple life, which was unconventional for someone his status. Stoicism taught him many things, but among them was the acceptance of life's challenges and the importance of self-improvement. Chapter 2. The Adoption. Hadrian, the emperor of the Nerva-Antonian dynasty, faced a dilemma when his heir died. Okay, listen, we're now going into the Roman adoption system, and I'm going to be real with you. It's a little bit complicated. Actually, screw that. During my research, my mind went. But hey, I will try to keep it as simple as possible for you. But stick with me, because it's essential to understand this in order to understand why Marcus Aurelius became Rome's emperor. Anyways, let's jump back to the story. Adoption was a tactical move in ancient Rome, especially among the elite. Hadrian chose Antonius Pius, Marcus's uncle, as his heir, but with a condition. Antonius had to adopt Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus. This move was purely strategic, ensuring the stability for the empire. Marcus's virtues made him an excellent choice. In Rome, quality often trumped lineage, and Marcus's thirst for knowledge and big heart made him an ideal candidate. Adopted by Antonius Pius at the order of Emperor Hadrian, Marcus Aurelius was suddenly pushed into the line of imperial succession. It was a responsibility of unimaginable magnitude. This event would forever change Marcus's life, making a pivotal moment that shaped not only his destiny, but also the fate of Rome itself. Chapter 3. The Path to Become the Philosopher King. After being adopted into the heart of the Roman elite, Marcus would be in a whole new world of learning. Instead of playing games like the other kids at his age, he was learning great lessons. Rome brought its best teachers for him. Marcus wasn't just learning to be a leader, he was being shaped into the philosopher king. As discussed earlier, Marcus was especially drawn to Stoicism, a way of thinking that teaches the inner peace is achieved through living according to nature, focusing on what we can control and pursuing virtue among life's challenges. Today, a Stoic person is generally understood as someone who remains calm under pressure. While this encaptures some general aspects of Stoicism, it is more than that. The Stoics believed that the universe works in accordance to God or nature, and that it was structured by the active reasoning of cause and effect, which they called logos. Before we dive into what Stoicism really is, just know that Marcus Aurelius would use Stoicism to lead Rome through some incredible hard times, and also through some unimaginable painful personal losses during his reign as Rome's emperor. On the 10th of July, 138 AD, Hadrian died. Antonius Pius, Marcus's uncle, was appointed emperor. Immediately after Hadrian's death, Antonius asked Marcus to change his wedding plans. Instead of marrying the girl he was with at the time, he wanted Marcus to marry his daughter, Faustina the Younger. Marcus accepted the proposal. Behind the political chess moves of their marriage, they shared a deep bond, evident in their long partnership and evident of the number of children they had. They must have had a lot of fun in the bedroom, if you know what I mean, because they had a whopping 13 children together, although heartbreakingly, only a few of them survived into adulthood. Marcus Aurelius was first appointed consul in 140 AD, a role he would hold 3 times in his life. His first consulship, taken on at the age of 19, was somewhat exceptional given his young age. This early appointment was an indication of Emperor Antonius Pius' confidence in him, as well as a way to integrate and strengthen Marcus's position within the Roman ruling elite. Chapter 4. Rome's 2 emperors. After Antonius died in 161 AD, Marcus was effectively the only ruler of the Roman Empire. But wait a minute, something happened during this time, because according to the Nerva Antoni dynasty timeline, Lucius Verus, Marcus's adopted brother, was the ruler for a period of time. Well, let's find out what happened here. In a move that surprised the Senate, the citizen, and perhaps even the gods themselves, Marcus Aurelius chose a path never before seen in the Roman history. It wasn't a lack of capability or confidence that led him to this decision, but a grand vision. Although the Senate planned to confirm Marcus to rule alone, he refused to take office unless Lucius received equal powers. The Senate accepted the terms. Lucius Verus was not just an adopted brother, but a partner fit for the monumental task ahead. It was the first time that Rome was ruled by 2 emperors. While Marcus delved deeper into administration, law, and philosophical pursuits, Lucius was often the face of the empire in the public and on the battlefield. Though a philosopher at heart, Marcus couldn't escape the violent wars of his time. One of the major challenges of the new emperors was the Parthian War, which was a war that lasted 5 years, from 161 to 166 AD. It was a war with a series of military confrontations between the Roman Empire and the Parthian Empire, the 2 ancient superpowers of their time. While Lucius Verus took command in the distant eastern frontiers, Marcus, though distant from the battlefield, was active in strategy and organization. The empire needed a tactician, and Marcus didn't evade from his responsibility, providing that a philosopher could also be a master strategist. He demonstrated that leadership wasn't just about physical presence, but about vision, direction, and morale. During a challenging siege, As Roman morale declined, a letter from Marcus Aurelius arrived. Instead of tactical advice, it offered philosophical wisdom, emphasizing duty and the nature of standing up to adversity. As his words spread around the campfires, the soldiers' spirit were reignited. The siege turned victorious shortly after. While Lucius Verus was celebrated, many acknowledged Marcus's influential role, proving that a philosopher emperor's pen can rival the might of a sword. Chapter 5. Storms at the Horizon. It wasn't long the two brothers led the Roman Empire together. Lucius, his adopted brother, fell ill with symptoms of food poisoning at 169 AD. His adopted brother died only 8 years as an emperor. However, scholars believe that he may have been a victim of smallpox, as he died during a widespread epidemic known as the Antonine Plague. Alone at the top, the weight of an entire empire now rested solely on Marcus's shoulders. External invasions, especially the Germanic wars, combined with the internal fucking nightmare on the ongoing plague, created massive challenges ahead. But Marcus Aurelius, fortified by his life learnings and experiences, stood resilient, proving that he wasn't just any leader, he was Rome's philosopher king, and he'd do anything to get them through these hardships. When the victorious Roman legions returned from Parthia, they brought with them an unexpected, deadly souvenir with them: the plague. Believed to be either smallpox or measles, it spread like wildfire, leaving cities in despair and taking millions of lives in its wake. But that wasn't the only problem of Marcus Aurelius, because another storm brewed in the empire's horizon: the Marcomannic Wars against the Germanic tribes, pressing Rome's borders. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher now turned military commander, had to shift his attention from the plagued, ravaged heartlands of the empire to its threatened borders. While dealing with the worst health crisis in the empire's history, Marcus had to also deal with the war at hand. Marcus used this difficult time to dig even deeper into his Stoic beliefs, writing much of his work, Meditations. During this period, his notes from the battlefield weren't just strategies, but reflections on life, duty, and belief. While the plague took many lives, Marcus's personal sacrifices, both financially and emotionally, helped in Rome's recovery. And in the north, his strategic expertise pushed back the Germanic tribes, ensuring Rome's borders remained intact. However, even the mightiest of emperors can't escape the thing we all have in common: death. In 180 AD, the philosopher king died at the age of 58. His death marked the end of the 5 good emperors, having given his all to his beloved Rome, and left behind not just a legacy for the history books, but also the timeless wisdom of his writings in his Meditations. When reading his book Meditations, Marcus Aurelius reflects a lot on death, and one quote really stuck with me: "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Upon his death, his son Commodus ascended to power, and oh boy was that a disaster. In big contrast to his father's wise and stoic leadership, Commodus' reign was marked by luxury and unpredictable behavior. Declaring himself a living god and fighting as a gladiator, his tyranny would send shockwaves through the Roman Empire. His catastrophic reign as an emperor ended with his assassination in 192 AD. All of this would put Rome on a path of sharp decline from his father's legacy and plunging Rome into instability. But that's for another story. Chapter 6. The Legacy of Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius left without a doubt an incredible mark on history, not just during his time as emperor, but also 2,000 years later, with his thoughts forever burned into the fabric of history in his Meditations. The book Meditations offer a vast amount of wisdom that are as relevant today as they were in ancient Rome. Now, if you haven't read Marcus Aurelius' book Meditations, I highly recommend you reading it, because it will help you get an understanding of your feelings and how to overcome obstacles in your life. Now, one of the key messages of Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism as a whole is summed up in one quote from Marcus: "You have the power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Now, this one really resonated with me because it makes you realize that we spend so much time worrying and thinking about things that are completely out of our control. When you think about it, it is completely pointless to use any energy on the things which we can't control, right? I'll give you an example. I have an autoimmune disorder called Graves' disease, and basically it makes it super hard for me to put on weight. Now, I used to complain a lot about this, but for what use? Did it fix the problem? Did it make me feel any better? Nope. And it probably pissed off people, if anything. It's not in my control, so what's the point of complaining? Now, what is in my control is my actions, my thoughts, and my way of dealing with it. So for the past year, I've made it a mission to at least try and put on muscle, even with this obstacle. And you know what? I managed to put on 14 kilos of weight in less than a year. So focus on what is in your control and ignore the things that aren't. They are a waste of energy and time. And one thing you will notice when you read Marcus Aurelius' book is that he reminds himself all the time that life is short-lived and we're not here for a long time. Now, another quote that stuck out to me was this: "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." By this, he meant that even when facing adversity or misfortune, one can maintain inner peace and happiness by controlling one's decisions and reactions. Listen, I hate to break it to you, but it is inevitable that something terrible or bad is going to happen to you. Whether it's you going through a heartbreak or losing someone dear to you, it will happen. And again, it is out of your control. Now, what's in your control is how you're going to manage your thoughts and reaction. And this goes for everything in life. You can almost always turn a negative into a positive if you want to. I'm a strong believer that life is a single-player game and that happiness is largely a choice for most people. Because if you desire something outside your control, you are bound to suffering because you don't have what you want. Naval Ravikant said something that stuck with me, which was something along the lines of, desire is a contract to yourself to be temporarily unhappy until you get what you want. Remember, a normal person wants 1,000 things, but a sick person only wants one thing. And another thing, there can be no progress, no achievement without sacrifice. Do every act of your life as though it was the very last act of your life. Now, if you're sitting there thinking this story was incredible, then oh boy do I have the perfect video for you. Just click the video on the screen right now. I promise you, it is just as great as this one. And if you made it this far, you're a real one. Thanks for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.